Welcome, fellow freaks, geeks, and nostalgic 90s nerds, to my channel, Slime and Slashers, where, we talk about everything from Nickelodeon slime to horror movie slashers, but plenty of stuff in between, like today's video, which is a flippin' tag video, and it's not just any tag, it's a trashy tag video. I will tell you more about it when we come back from this short intro, so stay right there, and we will get into the tag. Welcome back, guys. Okay, I'm going to be doing Ollie over at the channel Criminale, his original tag video, and the tag was created in honor of his event GarbAugust, where he's reading trashy books all month long in the month of August, and a lot of people are partaking, including myself. I'm reading definitely one, hopefully two, trashy books in honor of his event, but most people are reading many more books than just two. They're reading books all month long that are trashy and just garbage, but in the best way. So, in honor of that, he created the tag, the GarbAugust Trashy Books Tag, and I'm going to flippin' answer the tag. Thank you so much, Ollie, for tagging me in your tag video, and this is so creative, so I can't wait to answer them. So let's get right into it. Okay, question 1. Trashy books are often dismissed by the critics. What's a book which is regarded as trash but you think has artistic value? My answer for this one has to be The Nest by Gregory A. Douglas. Yes, it's a killer cockroach story. Sounds absurd, sounds trashy. It is in a way, but it's also very poetic in its prose. Gregory A. Douglas did a wonderful job at just going over the top with his descriptions, and honestly, this is one of my favorite animal attack books. I love this book so much. It's so much fun. And I will say that some people think it's good and entertaining, but it's regarded not as highly as some other books like Jaws, let's say. And Jaws, I will talk more about that book in a second, but The Nest did help start the animal attack book craze in the late 70s, early 80s, but The Nest really isn't talked about like Jaws is. Jaws is talked about by many. The Nest, not really discussed at all. I think it's a piece of trash that definitely has artistic value. In fact, if you guys are wanting to hear some non-spoiler discussion of The Nest, go check out my book review. It's my favorite book review I've probably ever done on my channel. And one, there's an inflatable roach in the review, which I battle with in the review. Like, I punch it and stuff. And also, I basically read a lot of quotes from The Nest, and you can see what I mean by calling it poetic, because there's some really just beautiful quotes, but they're also horrific because they're about roaches killing people. So yes, check that out if you want to know more about what I mean. Question number 2 now. Critics often love books with extreme or challenging content. Which critically praised book did you think was trash? And I just mentioned the book, so Jaws by Peter Benchley honestly is trash because it's not as entertaining as I thought it would be. It's nothing close to how wonderful the movie is, because the movie, Jaws, is one of my favorite movies of all time. There is a weird mafia subplot in Jaws, as well as a really disturbing relationship between Chief Brody's wife, Ellen Brody, and Hooper. And it's very weird, especially if you're imagining Richard Dreyfuss and the actress from the movie. The scenes are very actually explicit in Jaws in terms of like the sex scene between them. Anyway, it's weird. I don't get it. I think the book could have been so much better, and I had such high hopes when I went to read Jaws many years ago and was really disappointed. So yes, I'm not sure if technically Jaws, the book, is actually critically praised or not. However, it's super popular, it's a bestseller, and I'm going to count that as the answer in the question, because I think it's a super popular book. It spawned a great movie, but I don't think the hype is warranted. I think it's kind of trash in the bad sense of the word. Question number 3. Not everyone approves of trashy books. What's a book you wouldn't read in public? Honestly, I think horror as a whole is kind of looked upon as trashy. And so I think if you read any horror book in public, I think you're taking a risk at people giving you glances and wondering what you're reading. Now, I'm not talking about Stephen King, who's more widely accepted. I'm talking about, you know, the lesser known stuff. Like any kind of old school paperback from hell, especially if you're reading it now, people will probably look at you and like, what are you reading? Like some titles, I'm just looking at my bookshelf, that's why I'm looking off. I'm trying to find one like Night Beasts or The Demon by Jeffrey, I can't read the last name, but it's a paperback from hell type of book from back in the day. Book of the Dead by John Tiggs. Like anything like that, if someone sees the title, they'd be like, what the hell are you reading? And also if they see the cover, they'd be like very put off or wondering why you're reading it. Just horror is not accepted as a whole, and it's a shame because it's such a fun genre, and it's actually an important genre because it allows you to confront your fears in a very safe way. It allows you to come to terms with things that maybe you haven't talked about, but you know deep down scare you. And I just think that's very fascinating to examine and to take a closer look at. So, you know, I love horror. And I'm not saying all horror is trashy, but I'm saying the general public kind of seems to think that, unfortunately. Question 4. Books about killer animals are almost always trashy. What animal would you least like to be attacked by? Obviously, I already mentioned the nest. I definitely wouldn't want to be attacked by killer roaches because I have had a roach land on me, especially as a kid. That happened like twice for some reason. Anyway, I screamed and freaked out. Even when roaches are nearby, I get skeeved out and I don't like them. They freak me out. But I have a second part to that answer because I also wouldn't want to be attacked by orcas. Orcas are very beautiful animals. However, honestly, they're kind of dicks, especially when they're hunting their prey. Most animals, you know, they hunt their prey, they capture the prey, they eat the prey. The orcas actually like to play around with their prey. Like if you watch any kind of nature documentary, specifically, obviously, an ocean documentary, a lot of times they'll show an orca and they'll cut away from the playing around with the prey, but you can tell it's like a group of orcas and they're passing around the seal, or like they injure the seal and then they keep like, you know, going under the seal and like bumping it up and doing it over and over again instead of just being like and eating it. No, they're like, no, let's play around with this bitch first. No, I hate that. It's so mean. And obviously if you've seen the movie Blackfish, and that talks about how we shouldn't keep orcas in captivity, of course, and I totally agree with that. But for a multitude of reasons, not only because trainers are in danger when they're in the water with a captive orca, because it's just not the way they were meant to live in captivity, so they're testy, anything could happen. You know, these are wild animals, and they're huge animals. And so Blackfish literally shows footage of one it wasn't really an attack in the sense that the guy lived, but it was the beginnings of attack. So a trainer, he is being dragged by a whale he's had a relationship with, in terms of he's trained this whale, he's known this whale for a long time, and you know, he's worked with him day after day, yet still this orca whale turns on him and he's dragging the trainer down to the bottom of the pool. He lets go, the trainer thinks he's free, starts to swim back up, and the orca comes back up and grabs him again and pulls him back down. Luckily, the guy did manage to escape and swim off and got out of the tank or the pool. But yeah, that was a close escape. And so yeah, I would not want to be attacked by an orca, aka a killer whale. They're actually not whales, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. I have a whole chat about the movie Free Willy, and I go in depth. In fact, I go crazy into depth about Free Willy, but also orcas in general, and a whole bunch of fun facts about orcas and yada yada. Anyway, I have an orca attack type of book, which I have not read yet, but I want to read this very bad. This was one of my dream paperback finds that I actually found this year. This is Killer by Peter Tonkin, and I'm so happy to have found it. As you guys can see, this whale is coming out from the ice, and he's gonna kill some people, I imagine.
They were caught in the ultimate trap. They faced the ultimate terror. 5 men and 1 beautiful woman, marooned on a floating island of Arctic ice. Together they had the equipment and skills to fight the freezing cold. the violently savage storms, then suddenly the angry seas, the jaws of horror opened wide as nature's deadliest creature rose from the depths, a huge killer whale of enormous intelligence, incredible power, indestructible endurance, ravenous for human prey.
Next question, trashy books often flourish in specific genres. What's your favorite trashy subgenre? This might be pretty obvious to you guys as it's the only type of book that I've seemed to mention in this tag video so far, and that is animal attack books and stories. I love animal attack as a subgenre. It's wonderful. It's always fun. The funny thing is, The Rats by James Herbert is one of the most well-known animal attack books, and it's actually one of my least favorites. I much prefer The Nest. There's a book called Rats by Paul Zindel, which is actually a middle grade flippin' animal attack book, and that is even gorier than I ever imagined a middle grade book could be, and it's marvelous, by the way. So I do highly recommend Rats if you've never read it. It's an old school middle grade book, and it's marvelous. I could name a whole bunch, but definitely The Nest is probably one of my favorite. Even Hellhound by Ken Greenhall, that's a super, super underrated animal attack book. That one's actually a good, well-written animal attack book that's thought-provoking and it isn't trashy. So yeah, I totally recommend Hellhound if you're looking for a very good, next level, different type of animal attack story. Next one says, famous people love to milk their fans by publishing books. Which celebrity would you like to read a trashy novel by? Well, Steve-O from Jackass, of course, he actually has a novel out, and I think I own it on Kindle. I think I bought it a long time ago and never read it, but I definitely want to read it at some point because I just have a feeling it'll be really entertaining, and I think he's a lot of fun. But another member of Jackass that I'd actually really love to read a book by would be Bam Margera, or however you say his last name. I used to love his show on, I think it was MTV back in the day in the 2000s or whatever. Definitely trashy, okay? But at the same time, I would really enjoy reading a book by him, and I would say that would definitely classify as trashy, I think. Trashy books have the best covers. Which book on your shelves has the trashiest cover? And this is so hard because I have so many wonderful trashy covers that I own because lots of paperbacks from hell have trashy covers. So I will just show you a few right now. I mean, you could literally pick any zebra book and it probably would classify as uber trashy. This is a great example. Lots of zebra covers have skeletons on the cover. They're totally out of place. It usually doesn't go with the story. And it was definitely on the cover just to entice people to read it, just to catch some eyes. This skeleton is awesome. He's like outside of a peppermint house. It's one of my favorite covers. He's got a bloody knife here. Yeah, this is fantastic stuff. Next example of a trashy cover, we've got a werewolf, we've got a freaking rocket ship, Moonbane, about werewolves going to the moon. Obviously, this is grade A trash. And by the way, I read this and it's a ton of fun. I do recommend it. It was a blast, honestly. No pun intended because, you know, blasting off into space. But yes, this was a lot of fun, basically. I think my trashiest covers in the traditional sense of the word trashy, I guess I think of nudity and, you know, being a little skimpy as being trashy on a cover. I think my skimpiest and trashiest covers are actually step back artwork, not the covers themselves. So this one, it's the step back art for the book Crooked Tree, and we could see that it's a woman's lower half but with a bare head, and it or she is driving the hand or clawed hand through this dead body of a man. So I think that's pretty trashy, but in a glorious, awesome way. Last but certainly not least, another step back artwork that is, I think, super trashy. It might be the trashiest one that I own. I found this very recently, just 2 or so months ago, in Florida. Look, it's a woman laying in bed in a seductive outfit, like a nightie, kind of lingerie, and well, obviously her head is chopped off and a dude's holding it. So I'd say, yeah, that's pretty extreme, pretty trashy. Trashy books often contain adult themes. What's a book you read before you were old enough to? I hate to repeat a book that I already talked about in a previous answer. However, this is the one that applies. I read Jaws back in high school. I was old enough to read, you know, some sexual content. However, what made it inappropriate was I checked it out from my high school library, and my high school was a Catholic high school, and I don't think they knew the type of material in the book Jaws. I don't think that they knew that there was like an explicit sex scene. There's no way that would have been in there had they known that. So I was old enough, but at the time it was inappropriate for where I checked it out from and how I read it. So I would say, yeah, that counts as an answer, I think, to the question, I think. This is an absurd question, but also fun and funny. If you were a character in a shifter romance, what creature would you want you or your partner to shift into? Not having to do with sexuality in any way, but I wouldn't mind if my partner shifted into a penguin, whatever breed of penguin that, I'm not sure if it's all penguins or just a specific breed, but the ones that, you know, they find a mate and it's their mate for life. I just think that's so sweet and like so romantic. So the little penguins, they bond for life. So yes, if my mate was a penguin, could shift into a penguin, maybe we would be mates for life. And that's just so sweet and cute and whatever. It's, I guess it's cheating, like in terms of it's not really answering the question, but I think it counts because I just think that idea is so marvelous and sweet and not the type of thing that happens these days very much in terms of people staying together for their whole lives and being very loyal. Penguins are loyal, bitch! That's why I would want my boy to be a penguin. That's ridiculous. Paul's loyal too, my boyfriend, but I just think it's funny, the idea of a penguin, dating a penguin. It's hilarious, actually. And they're super cute, by the way, so yeah, cuties! Last but not least, tag the trashiest booktubers I know. I don't know, this one's hard because I feel like anybody who wants to should answer this tag. I would really be curious to see how my friend Katrina Brown answers. I don't think she's a trashy booktuber, but I do think she's read some like extreme and gross horror, so I think it'd be fun to hear her answer about, you know, trashiest books and this or that. It would just be fun. So yeah, I'm gonna tag Katrina Brown, but only if you want to, Katrina. And otherwise, anyone else who wants to, please do so, because this was so much fun. I have only done one other tag, and funnily enough, it was Ollie's other original tag, his birth year book tag. So Ollie, you're obviously the master of tag creation because I seem to really enjoy doing your tags. So thank you so much for tagging me. This was a blast, and it was really actually quite hard to figure out what I wanted to answer for these. What are some of your favorite trashiest reads, guys? If you're participating in GarbAugust, comment below. What have you read? What's been the most fun trash you've dug into this month so far, or in general, what's the funnest garbage or trash that you've ever read? Please, I'd love to know. Definitely comment. And sorry for the lighting, because my lighting's terrible. I have this flimsy ring light that I have basically put up. I didn't even get my real lights out like I should have, like my actual lights I use. So sorry for the lighting, but thank you guys for sticking with me and watching my videos. You know that it means a lot to me. I know I say this each and every time, but that doesn't make it any less true, even though I've said it a billion times. Thank you guys once again, and I think for this time, that is it for me. Till next time, you guys know what you can do. Keep on killing it.